So welcome to class, everybody. First thing I'm going to do, as usual, is share my screen and bring up the class notes and review where we are. Okay, just let a couple more students into class, so that's good. So here we are, Tuesday, January 10th, and we're going to review a little bit the essay that we prepared for yesterday, the essay about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I'm also going to review a little bit about the works cited page and the citations. And then we are going to visit the LaGuardia Virtual Library as well, so you can see how that works, and that can help you to find a source, an outside source for your essay. I have here from just that you saw yesterday, let me move this down so it's all on one page. Okay, here we have an outline that you could follow for the essay, for the first essay about the inalienable rights. And I know we looked at this yesterday. I'm just reminding you that it's here, and also remind you that I gave you a general outline for the essays, the sentences that belong in the introduction, the sentences that belong in the body paragraphs, and the sentences that belong in the conclusion. So you can follow, you can incorporate the information from that essay as well. So, and there are 2 sample essays in the content area of Blackboard. In the essay number 1 folder, if you scroll all the way down, you can see 2 essays that other students have submitted. So definitely look that stuff over. And then here, right down here, I have what your works cited page should look like. Actually, this should not be bolded, so let's unbold that. Okay, this will be your works cited page. It's going to be a separate page from your essay. So your essay might be a couple of pages, 2 pages, and then the 3rd page will be your works cited page. Notice the title is Works Cited. It has that S on there. Cite, to cite a work means to refer to it. In APA style, this page would be called References. So those of you who go on to use APA, this is one of the differences between the MLA style and the APA style. But in MLA, which is what we're using, the title is Works Cited, just like this. So definitely pay attention to that. Often students forget and they'll leave off the S, or they'll bold this or italicize this or underline this or put a colon in there. Don't do any of those things. Just leave it just like that. Works cited. Do center it and do have the capitals in there. You could just copy this.
Professor,
Yes.
are you showing a document that says works cited? I can't see it.
Okay, I'm going out. I'm going back in again, and I'm bringing it up. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Let me just make an adjustment here. Hang on 1 second. Make sure I have the right one here. That's that one. Okay. All right, I might have had the wrong one there. So let me go back and do that over again. Thank you for stopping me in the middle. Okay, here we are. Let's go back. All right. Here we're back at the beginning again. Right? Sorry, folks. Here we are in Tuesday's Zoom class. Hope you can see that now. And tomorrow we do not have a class. Okay, so if you can see that, just somebody say you can see that. Anybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. We're in the right place. Sorry about that. Okay, so here's our class today. Tomorrow, no class. Thursday, we will have a class, and that's when I'm asking for your first draft of essay number 1. And some of you, I'm sure, will be able to get a first draft in by class time on Thursday. Don't panic if you can't get a draft in by the class time on Thursday. I'll take them Friday. I'll take them on Saturday. You'll just have a little less time to do any turnaround editing. So please don't feel pressure about that. On the other hand, some of you you're going to have drafts already ready for me. Please hand them in, and we will look at those drafts in class on Thursday, whichever ones we have. And that's a good thing for you because you'll see it reviewed. We'll review it together. You'll see my comments. We'll be talking about your very essay, and then you'll be able to fix it directly from there. So it's a good thing to have your essay reviewed in class. So please try to get some in there. But again, if you can't get it in by Thursday, it's not an emergency. Send it in on Friday, send it on Thursday night, send it in on Saturday. As soon as I get those essays, I will respond. You're going to email them to me. I will respond with an email saying it's received. And then that day or a couple hours later or the next morning, I will review them and send them back to you so you can edit them and have your second draft in. The second draft is due, you can see down here, on January 17th. I might have gotten, if we asked that question yesterday in class, and I might have gotten the date wrong. So here is the correct date. The second draft is going to be due on Tuesday, the 17th. Okay, so really you have that window in there. And so try to stay up with that as best you can. It's a really short term and it ends really quickly. You'd be surprised how fast it goes. So try not to fall behind. And if you do for some reason fall behind, try to catch up right away so you can stay with the rhythm of the class. Okay, so here we are today. Then tomorrow, no class. Thursday, we do have a class. Next Monday, no class. That's Martin Luther King Day. So the whole school is closed. And then Tuesday, the 17th, that's when we'll have that other class when draft 2 will be due. Just so you know, that Tuesday is a Monday schedule. If you have other classes, that's what's going to happen there. And then that week, just to give you a preview, there'll be no class on Wednesday, the 18th, but we will start the second essay on Thursday, January 19th. So no matter what, you really want to be through with your second draft of the first essay by this day, because you really don't want to be working on 2 essays at once. It can get rather confusing. Okay, so there's my email again. We'll do that in a minute. Here's the works cited page I was talking about. Okay, you're going to have a separate page. That is your works cited page. And as I said before, that should not be bolded. Okay, so here's the title I was talking about. Notice it's not bolded, it's not italicized, it's not underlined, there's no colon. It's just a capital W and a capital C. It is centered. And here in the notes, I'm giving you the citation that you can use for the Declaration of Independence. So everybody can have, I guess this really, it could be italicized. Okay. Everybody can use this right here, this citation in your works cited. You could just copy this from the notes and paste it in, and that'll be the beginning of your works cited. You will also have a second source that you find on your own, and I'm going to take you to the library real soon so you can see how you might do that from the library. But you could also get that source from the internet. That's okay. But I will also show you how to format that source for the works cited page. And we'll take you to the Purdue OWL so you can see how that's done, where that information is. Now, this second source will have an author. The author will have a last name, just like Jefferson is the last name there. And depending on the letter that the last name starts with, it will either be after the J in the alphabet or before the J in the alphabet. So you'll have to list it in the correct order because these items in the works cited are listed in alphabetical order by the author's last name. Okay, let's stop there for a second and see. Oh, somebody's waiting. Sorry, Antonia. I didn't see you waiting there. You're in now. Anybody have any questions on the essay that you're working on right now? Some of you did send me some drafts or beginnings of the writing that you did.
Professor,
Yes.
for works cited list, and if we summarize or paraphrase the information from the article, do we need to list that article as an works cited?
You should, yes, you really should. Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay.
The idea behind the works cited is to a couple of different ideas. One is scholarly sources so that an individual who's reading your work can know where your information came from and could follow up on their own if they were doing their own essay or their own research on the same topic. It's good for them to know where you got your information from. And then there's also that intellectual honesty, which is that you're not actually using someone else's words, which would be plagiarism. You're using similar words. You got the ideas from another person, so you're listing that in your works cited. Someone's trying to come in. Where is that? I got her. Antonio's in. Antonio's in. Thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you.
I don't think there's anybody waiting. I'm trying to keep my eye on that. But yes, if anybody sees that I've delayed admitting someone, definitely let me know. You can just stop me at any point and tell me that. I'm trying to keep my eye on the list there. Okay, so
I have a question.
yes,
Sorry.
go ahead.
So the first final draft is due Thursday, and then the final essay is due when for number 1?
Bringing that back up again, because I know people came in at different times.
Yeah, because my screen I kept cutting off my service.
Okay, so the first draft is due on Thursday, the 12th, and then the final draft 2, is due on Thursday, the 17th. And as I was saying, some of you will definitely, I'm sure, be able to get your first draft in by class time, and that's great because we can use those to review and so everybody can see it, and I can teach from that. But if you have a trouble with this first essay, getting it in by class time on Thursday, don't worry. You won't lose any points. Send it in Thursday night, send it in Friday, send it in on the weekend if you have to. You'll have a little less time to turn it around for the second draft, right? Because we do have a window in there of a few days. And you will email me the essays. As soon as I get it, I will send you back an email saying it's received, so you know I got it. And then that day or the next day, I will be able to go over it and send it back to you with the corrections, suggestions, comments, and then you'll be able to revise it and send it back.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. Anybody else with concerns about the essays? Anybody else started the essay?
I have.
Good. That's a good thing. Okay, I'm not going to ask anybody to share at this point if they don't want to. That's fine. I just want to make sure you know that there's this very short turnaround, so you really need to get work on those things. All right, let's take a look at. I'm going to share my screen again, and actually, I'm going to go to the LaGuardia Library. So hopefully, you can see the library screen now on the screen there. So somebody just say yes that you can see the library. No. Okay, let's stop that. I'll go in again, try again, bring it up. Can you see the library screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a couple of different ways to get to the LaGuardia Library. There are buttons all over the place. So I'm sure, or you can just type in library at LaGuardia Community College and you should get this start screen right here. And there's a lot of different things here for you to look at. I'm not going to go over everything with you. Certainly though, there's this in the quick links, there's this Ask a Librarian link. That comes up a couple of times in different screens that you're on in the library. And the thing you should know about the librarians is that they're really there to help you. The librarians like nothing better than helping students. When the librarians are not helping students, they're doing all kinds of administrative work and other things, cataloging the library, putting books back on shelves, doing research, filling out forms, and they would much rather interact with you, with the students in your research, and that's much more interesting for them. So if you need any help at all negotiating the library or finding a source in the library or some advice about how to find a source in the library, definitely feel free to contact the librarians. They're all very nice, and they really like working with the students. You probably make their day. So don't hold back on doing that. That's really something you should do. Okay, so here, as you can see in the middle of the screen, these different red buttons. Over here by OneSearch, you see where it says databases, articles, and books online. Now, for the kind of essay writing here, you're probably better off looking for articles rather than books. And that's because articles are relatively short and books are relatively long. And it takes a long time to read a book and a shorter time to read an article. Also, very many books are actually collections of articles. Sometimes an author will write a number of articles and then put them together in a book. So the articles are the ones that you're after here. Later in your career, if you're doing research papers, you might in there for a whole term, and it's a long term, not a short term. You might be more interested in looking at different books. But for this class, it's really just great to use articles. So what you do here is you'll click on the database to get in there, and you can see there's a lot of different databases. And so I'm going to work with you with this first database, Academic Search Complete, because that's a general all-purpose search engine. The others are more specific. We will have a librarian come to class in a couple of weeks, and that librarian will review some of these other search engines and the other search options. So I'm going to leave that for the librarian to do when we work together. But I'll show you Academic Search Complete. And usually what happens is they need you to log in right away when you start to use the library here. And I think I know my password. I believe it's right. We'll see how far I get. Yes, okay. So that brings you into the Academic Search Complete window. Now, all of you for this class definitely need to have some sources in addition to the document that I'll be giving you. So I give you the Declaration of Independence, and I'm asking you to add one source that you will either paraphrase from or quote from, and include that in your Works Cited page. You can find that source through the internet, which is fine, but there are some advantages to finding sources in the library, and I'll show you some of those. But as you can see, basically, it's a search engine, just like Google or DuckDuckGo or any other search engine that you might be interested in. One of the things, however, down here that you should be aware of on the left-hand side.
Professor,
Yes.
I can't see the new screen.
I'm going to go out and come in. Sometimes when I move from screen to screen, that happens. So thank you for saying that. Okay, you should be able to see it now.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right. So this is the Academic Search Complete. Up here is the search box, as you can see. Down here on the left, one of the things you want to do is limit your results, because you want to make sure, for example, for full text, I'm going to check that box, because it's the worst thing to go look for an article, find the perfect article by its title, and then find out that you can't actually access the article, it's somewhere else, or you need some other links or some other permissions or something like that. So definitely think about clicking full text so that anything that you find, you can actually access. Okay, and there are lots of other choices down here. I'm not going to go through those now, but I will look here at the searches, and I'm just going to show you how that works. So let's just say we want something to do with the Declaration of Independence. We spell it right, okay. And we just click the search button, and you'll notice right away we got a different screen. Now, can you see the search results screen? Anybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. So as you can see right here, it tells you how many results you got in the search right up here on the left-hand side. And it lists the first 10, but you can see there's 1,600 different articles that resulted from putting in the words Declaration of Independence. And 1,680 is it's not a gigantic number. It's not 200,000. Sometimes you'll get that, but it's probably more than you could actually glance at and scroll through in order to find one that makes sense for the kinds of things you're writing about. So you probably want to use the advanced search function, which allows you to put in more than one keyword. So here we put in Declaration of Independence. Let's say we want to put in, I'm going to try to narrow it down. So let's put in history. That might work. And they give you obviously options. So I'll choose that one. And then I'm going to put in Jefferson as the author, Thomas Jefferson. So now I've added, notice I've added these keywords. Now when I search, instead of 1,600 in my search results, I have 96. That still might be too many. You might want to narrow the field down even more, and you can do that with advanced search. You can add many, just by using this plus, you can add as many search terms as you want, right? But for the moment, I'm just going to stop with those 96 and take a look there. Okay, so you come up with these search results. Now remember, all of these are ones that have full text. They should have had full text. There we are. I clicked that again. I had to click, for some reason, I had to click the full text again. Now it narrowed down to 67, which is a reasonable number. You sometimes can make it even smaller, but that's a reasonable number to look through the titles to see if any of the titles are of interest to you and what you're writing about. So, for example, if you were looking at slavery, you might that's an idea that you might want to incorporate in your essay. This work right here, first one, might be one that you're interested in. Let me just show you over here in the relevance. This is the way these 67 search results are sorted. Relevance means how many keywords appear in that article or in the description of the article. You could also sort it by the newest one, the oldest one, by author, by source. So as you can see, there are different ways to rank them. Right now, they're ranked by the default of relevance. And so, because we put Thomas Jefferson's name in there, right up here, Thomas Jefferson appears in some of the titles. But let's say you want to look at this one. Let's say this first one was something you were interested in. So right away in the first search area where you get the information, you can see that this article is in an academic journal. That's good. You can see you can get the full text HTML. You can get the full text as a PDF. That's okay. It tells you the author's names right there. It tells you the name of the academic article journal right there, gives you the date, the volume, the issue, and the pages. Pages are important because you're going to have to read this stuff. Look, that was only 10 pages. 10 pages is short. That's a short article. So this might be a really good article to use because it seems to have the keywords that we want and has something to do with slavery. I want to write about slavery. And it's a short article, so I can read it rather quickly. So seems like something I might want to do. So if you notice, this title is interactive. So I'm going to click on the title, and that brings up another screen, digs down a little more deeply. Now, of course, the title is not interactive. So this is the page that you're going to rest on. And here they give you more detailed information about the article. Here, right here, I can't isolate it. They give you the subject terms. Those are just like the keywords that we were using up here in our search. Sometimes if you can't find an article based on the particular keywords that you've put in there, you want suggestions about other keywords to use. When you click on one of these articles, they'll have other subject terms. And if you haven't used any of these keywords in your own search, sometimes you can get an idea of what keywords to use to find what you're after. And one of the things that's really useful about when you get to a page like this is that there's an abstract. An abstract is a brief summary of the article. here's the abstract for this article right there. Very short. And you'll notice in the abstract, the keywords that we put in our search are bolded. So if the abstract is a little longer, you can skim quickly to the keywords that you use to see what it has to do with those keywords. Certainly in a short one like this, you can just read the couple sentences of the abstract. That will give you an idea about what the article is about. And since you have an idea about what you want to write about and what you're looking for, this gives you an idea of what's in the article. And if those two match or seem to match, then you might want to take a deeper look at the article itself. And the way you would do that, oh, let me just scroll down a little. Here it is. Look, it'll read it to you, right? So that's really good. Here's the contents of the article on the side. And I guess this is the article itself right there. So you can read the whole thing if you wanted to. Or if you wanted to be doing something else and just listen and have it read to you, you could do that as well. So that's sort of a nice thing. Or you can go over here and click and get the full, on the left here, the full HTML text or the full PDF text. You can see those links there. And so the whole article is available to you. Now on the right-hand side, you'll notice there are these tools. There are these tools. Very useful. You can put it on your Google Drive. You can add it to a folder. You can create a folder and put different sources in the folder that you might want to go back to later. You can print the article. You can email it to yourself. You can save it somewhere and these other things. But look at this button right here, the Cite button. That's the reason, the main reason why finding an article in the library is really, really helpful to you. When you click on the Cite button, you get this new screen. Hopefully you can see the citation format screen. Anybody? Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. This has a window in here, and see, here's the slide bar for this window. See that? And what you have here in the middle in this box are the different formats for citing this article. There are many different ones. I only talked about APA and MLA. Here's the APA format right there. And if you go a little bit further down, you get to the MLA format, which is right here. So if you use the library to find the article, and you want to use this article in your works cited because you've quoted from it, or you've paraphrased, or you've used some of the information from there, all you need to do is copy this entry right there the way it is. And I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to go over to my notes. I'm going to bring up the notes. Hopefully you can see the notes now. I'm going to scroll down to my works cited, and I'm going to paste that entry right there into the works cited. Can you see that? Anybody? Can you see the works cited?
Yes.
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 Excellent. Okay, I'm just going to clear the formatting and then put it back into the hanging indent format where you have the first line flush to the margin and then the second line's down there. And then actually, since this is a J and this is a B, I need to move the Jefferson entry below it, right? Because it needs to be in alphabetical order. And if you were using this article for the for your works cited, that would be your entire works cited. You only need to do that. And that's how easy it is to create a works cited from using the library, because the library, I'm going to go back to the library, because the library gives you, there we are, gives you the citation format for any article that you find. Now on the internet, sometimes on the internet, when you have a scholarly article, at the bottom of the article, it'll say how to cite this article. And then they will give you the APA or the MLA or some other format for citing the article. That can be tricky, and not as clean as copying and pasting the citation format directly from the library. By the way, if you have access to other libraries in your neighborhood or anyplace else, besides the LaGuardia Library, just about all of them operate in exactly the same way as I just showed you. So you can always use another library and find sources there, and then use the citation engine from the library to give you the citation that you need, that you can just copy and paste onto your works cited page. Let me just stop there for a second. Has anybody gone to the library before at LaGuardia, the virtual library? Anybody?
Yes, last semester, our professor asked us to use the
Excellent.
library.
Good, that's good. So you have a little bit of experience there. I highly recommend that you learn how to use the library. Just looking here on the chat to see what people are saying. I highly recommend that you get experience with the library. You'll definitely need to use the library for other classes that you take in the future. And so the more experience you have with it, the better. The easier you find it to use the library, navigate your way around the library, find sources, find the citations for the sources, capture those and put them in your works cited, which you need to do for this class. The more familiar you are with that process, the easier the whole idea about writing essays and writing research papers and doing research, it becomes easier throughout your career the more you do it. So I definitely encourage you to do that. And so for this first essay, you need one additional source, at least one. Of course, you could have more. One additional source over and above the declaration.
So, Professor, the information from Wikipedia can be used as a citation, right?
Okay, so I used to tell people not to use Wikipedia. However, Wikipedia is becoming more and more scholarly. What I used to say all the time was use the Wikipedia for background information, but then once you have some knowledge of the area, then go do a search and find a better source. However, I think that for this class, Wikipedia is fine. You can use Wikipedia. Problem with using Wikipedia is going to be crafting the citation format for that article that you want to list in your works cited. So yes, you can use Wikipedia, but I'll show you what you need to do.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Okay, so let's go now to, okay, let's go to another website. I'm sharing the screen now. And this is, hopefully you can see this. This is the Purdue University website for the Purdue Owl. They use the owl as the symbol of knowledge. Anybody know why the owl is a symbol of knowledge? You've heard of wise potato chips, right? You're wise if you eat wise potato chips. That's a picture of an owl on there. It's wise, having to do with wisdom. One of the Greek goddesses, one of the Roman goddesses, Minerva, had a pet owl. Athena in Greek and Minerva in Roman. And besides being the goddess of war, she was also the goddess of wisdom. And since she had a pet owl, the owl became a symbol of wisdom. So Purdue University calls their site the Purdue Owl. It's a free site. Everybody in the country uses this site. It's one of the better sites for all kinds of information about, I'm going to go, well, I won't go there because I might lose you. But on the home screen, if you went to the home screen of the Purdue Owl, you'd see all kinds of resources that are available to help you with English. All kinds of things about grammar, all kinds of things about writing, exercises, things of that nature. So if you wanted to improve your skills and just use a website like this to do that, this is a really good website for doing that also. But mostly what I send students here for is for how to do the MLA citations. And actually, all of the and they have the same thing for APA, by the way. So in the future, if you have to do APA, the Purdue OWL is a fine place to go for APA as well. And if you take a look at this, you'll see carefully, you can see the screen is really split in two. On this side, on the right-hand side, there's all this information. And on the left-hand side here, you have buttons that you can toggle. So here, if we went to, for example, MLA general format, let's see if we keep you. Okay, can everybody see MLA general format? Or did I lose you?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. So you can actually go through all of these different buttons and you can learn all about the different aspects of MLA. So if you have a question and you can't get to me or you can't get to the librarian, you can often find the answer to your question right here in the Purdue OWL. Here they talk about general formatting. This next button is called the MLA Formatting and Style Guide. And that also has all kinds of information about how to create the works cited list. And they go through this in detail. So here's an overview. Here are the general items you need to include in your citation. So if you get an article from the internet, you might need to create the entry for that article in your works cited because they may not give you the MLA format for citing that particular article that you find on the internet. So again, one of the nice things about using the library is that they do that. But let's go here. Here's these. I'm going to look at these buttons here, and I'm going to find a couple things. One is that sample works cited page. That's good because it shows you what it's supposed to look like, and you can see what some of those entries are. And then I'm also going to go to the one, this is the one you'd be using, works cited electronic sources, web publications. If you find something on the internet, this is where you'll need to go to figure out how to cite it. Now, right here, it says cite your source automatically in MLA. So you can do that. I haven't used this one much. This one may work fine for you. You might be able to put your URL right in there and it'll generate the citation for you. By the way, there are other websites on the internet that will do this as well. They're called citation engines. And they ask you for some key information about the web page that you have located or whatever the source is, and they will help you to format it in whatever format you need, whether it's MLA or APA or anything else. So you certainly can use that citation engine, or you can scroll down here and you will find that they will tell you what information you need to cite it. And they give you the format. And then they have some examples, citing an entire website, citing department websites, a page on a website, things like that, an ebook. So there's a lot of different variations here. I'm not going through them, an article in a web magazine. But more than anything else, the thing that you need to remember is that when you cite something from the internet, you're going to need the URL. Regardless of whether it's a page or a whole website or an article, you're going to need the URL. So when you find an article on the internet that you want to use, and you say, oh, I'm going to use this in my paper. Well, at that point, when you think you're going to use it, that's when you should try to capture all the information that you need in order to list that in your works cited. The worst thing is to use an article, to quote from it, to get all kinds of information from it, and then not secure the information you need to list it in your works cited. And then when you go to write your paper and put together your works cited, you don't have that information. You have to go find it again, which is really a pain. So try to remember when you're doing the research to capture the information that you need to cite that source, to list that source in your works cited. Try to capture it early in the process. As soon as you say, oh, this is a good article for me to use, I want to use this one. Okay, so let me stop that share. So I know that was a quick introduction to the library and to the works cited and to the MLA process. I know it's a lot to absorb. Remember, this class is practice. You're practicing writing the essays, you're practicing doing the formal writing, formal voice, formal structure, formal vocabulary, and you're practicing using the MLA formatting, in-text citations, in-text quotations, showed you some of those things, and the works cited page. So again, some of you have done some of these things before. Some of you, it's the first time you're doing it. So you really need to try to pay attention to the detail, try and get it right. Okay. So questions? Questions about the essay?
Yeah, Professor, I'm confused. We should use MLA or APA format.
Okay, so MLA, Modern Language Association, is used for the humanities. The humanities are literature, philosophy, art, music, those things. The APA is used in natural science and social science. Natural sciences, biology, chemistry, physics,
Okay.
social science, economics, political science, archaeology, sociology, psychology. So the different disciplines have adopted the different citation formats. It's very confusing, and there's really,
I think we should use MLA.
well, you need MLA since this is an English class, and so
Yeah.
we're in literature. We need to use MLA because that's the discipline we're working in. If we were working in history, history is a humanities subject as well, so we would have to be using MLA. If this were a psychology class, some of you might be taking a psychology class, then they're going to ask you to use APA. If you're a nursing student, some of you are nursing students, in those nursing classes, you'll have to use APA. The formats are rather similar, but there are specific differences. Now, I see that there's some people asking about, asking about the essay, and they're not sure what to do. So I'm going to go to the Blackboard. Hang on 1 second, and I'll go in there, and then I'll bring it up on my screen. Okay. I just want to, there we are. Okay. So let's get the student view. Okay. And now I'll bring it up so we can all see it together. Okay, so now hopefully you can see the Blackboard, and this is the way it looks to you when you bring it up. This should be I'm going to go to the content area, and this is the content area of Blackboard for our class. And the first thing you get here is the syllabus and the schedule. But if you scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, you'll see these different folders down here. And here's the essay number 1 folder. And in the essay number 1 folder, there's some readings, background. Okay, we talked about that last time. And then if you scroll down some more, here's the document itself. We read some of this in class. Here's the exactly what we did in class, looking at the different words in the document. Much more detail than we did in class. Here it is itself. We talked about Congress, right? What's a Congress? Remember this. So this goes on for a while. And then if you go all the way down to the bottom, we have some background reading for the Declaration of Independence. I talked about this in class. And then we have a couple of essay samples right here. So now they're not formatted exactly right. Those paragraphs should be indented, but it's tricky doing this formatting on Blackboard. But here, for example, is an essay that's a fine essay. It's a very basic essay, and you can quickly read this and see how someone structured it. They have the introduction like this, right? And it's a couple of sentences. And then here's the first paragraph dealing with the right to life. And then there's the second paragraph using that emphatic order there, secondly, and they talk about the right to liberty. And then lastly, also emphatic order, talking about the pursuit of happiness, and then there's the conclusion. Very basic essay, but it gives you an idea of what you can do. This other one is a little bit slightly more complex, not really that much more. There's an introduction right here, and then here's the first paragraph dealing with the right to life, the second one dealing with liberty, the third one dealing with the pursuit of happiness, and then here's the conclusion right there. So again, these are basic essays, but they lay out, these are real essays that students wrote in the past, that they lay out the information the way they're supposed to. And what's key in here is that these are all written, they should be, I think I went over them closely, they're all written in the third person, they all use the proper format, and they all use formal vocabulary. So your essay doesn't have to be profound. It doesn't need to be the most intellectually significant essay in the world, especially this first essay. What you need to be doing is practicing the format, the voice, the structure, and then of course the works cited and the quotations. These don't have those in there. You'll need to add those kind of things in yourself. Sometimes people use, so definitely you can refer to these essays as an example of what you need to do. Now, I'm just reading some of the notes. One of the things I didn't say the other day is the following. Sometimes when you're writing an essay, it's difficult to start with the introduction. The introduction, after all, introduces what your essay is all about. If you haven't yet written the essay, sometimes it's difficult to introduce what your essay is all about. So I often suggest to students to write the body paragraphs first, and then either the conclusion or the introduction last. Once you've written the body paragraphs, then it's a lot easier to write the introduction because you know exactly what your essay is going to say. You've already written the body paragraphs. Sometimes when you start with the introduction, and it may sound great, but then when you go to actually write your essay, the things that you put in the body paragraphs are not exactly what you said in the introduction. And so you need to go back to your introduction and fix it and adjust it based on the essay that you've actually written. So think about that. Don't, you know, some people can sit down and write an essay from start to finish, and they know exactly what they want to say, and it just flows out of their mouths, out of their minds, onto the paper, onto the screen, really quickly and smoothly. Most of us can't do that. I can't do that. Most of us have to go through a process of thinking and figuring out what we want to say and moving things around and editing them. Often you jot down some ideas, and then those ideas on one place, and then you take them to another place and start to work on those ideas and figure out how you're going to express what you want to express. And then even when you do have an idea, then you need to come up with an example, right? Because you have to have an example in each paragraph. So that's another thought process. How am I going to give an example that illustrates this? So it's a real, writing is really a thinking process, and it takes time. And so you really need to, and it's a step-by-step idea. You know, you think about it, you brainstorm a little bit, put down some notes, maybe you do a little reading and some research, then you start writing, then you start organizing what you're writing, then you reread it, reorganize it, and around and around and around. Sometimes you might have to go through 1, 2, 3, 4 different drafts of something that you're writing before you're ready to submit it as your first draft. Because it's not really your first draft, it's the first draft that you're submitting for other people to react to. When I write, I'm writing a book right now. I must be on my 50th draft. I mean, I go in there on a daily basis and change things and move things around and edit them, figure out if I'm doing the right thing, think about what I'm saying. It's a little bit more complex with a book, but with an essay, it's the same process. So I encourage you to write out your ideas and then go back to them. And ideally, some time elapses between the moment that you write down your first ideas and you come back to them. This class is far from ideal. Everything's stuffed really close together and the turnaround times are really tight. But even so, if you can write something and then wait a few hours before you come back to it, or the next day and come back to it and then review it, that really helps to give you some perspective on your own writing, helps you to understand, because when you're writing it, you're first thinking it out. So of course it makes perfect sense. You just thought it, you just wrote it down. But then sometimes when you come back to it, that's when you can see, wait a minute, I skipped over an idea, or I didn't answer this question, or I assumed that the reader would know what I meant by whatever I said, things like that. So give the writing process a chance to work, give it some time. As I said earlier, don't feel super pressure to get something in by Thursday. Some of you will have some things in by Thursday, and that's super. But if you don't get it until Thursday night or Friday or Saturday, that's all right, especially for this first go round. There's a little bit of wiggle room in there in terms of that second draft. And it's better for you to spend, for your learning process, it's better for you to spend the time working on it and crafting it and doing the best you can on your own. Again, later on in the term, the turnarounds become a little tighter. So there's much more leeway right now at the beginning. But you know, in 5 weeks, the term's almost going to be over. So we won't have the same kind of leeway to send those essays in a little late. Okay, so anybody have anything they want to ask about the essays? I think I saw some of the things in the chat. Some of those.
What about in-text citations?
Okay, I did put that in the notes from last time. Let me see if I can bring those up and show you that again. Hang on 1 second, and I'll bring up those notes from that class. I guess it's this one. Okay. No, it's not that class. Hang on 1 second. I thought this was the right one. All right, well, I can't find the notes, so I'll just do it off the cuff. All right, so let me share the screen and put the notes up there, and I'll review that with you again. Okay, so there's 2 types of in-text citations. One of them is called the parenthetical type of citation. And that's when you put the information here. Jefferson, I'll write a sentence. Jefferson wrote, I'm just going to do this really briefly, right? Liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Okay. Okay, so here's my sentence. I know it's not a great sentence, it's just a short sentence, but I'm just doing this for illustration purposes. Okay, he wrote, and here's the quote that I'm using, right? Of course, your quotes will come from whatever sources you have. So I didn't mean to put his name in there. Hang on a second. Yeah, just like that. Okay. The idea, let's just say that that's the way it's written. The idea is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So here, the ideas are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So here's the quote, right? The quote goes right in there. Now, after the sentence, and I could have more, if I had more words in here, okay, I would have more words in there. Sometimes your quote doesn't end the sentence, but in this case it does. Here. Yeah, I just wrote some more words in it so you can see how that works. The quote is right there in the middle of the sentence. It could be at the end, could be at the beginning. Right now I put it in the middle. And what we do is we put the open parenthesis, put the author's name, no comma, no P, no page. We put the page number, we close the parenthesis, and then we put the period at the very end. So this is the proper format for the parenthetical type of citation. It's called parenthetical because we put the author's name and the page number in parentheses at the end of the sentence in which we've used the quote. And we put the period at the very, very end after the closed parentheses. Not over here at the end of the sentence where you might logically think it belongs, but here after the closed parentheses. That's one of the things that I often have to remind students about when they put a quotation in the essay. And so because sometimes the punctuation is part of the quotation, right? You might have a period or something in there, or a question mark or something in there. And really the thing to remember is to put the period after the closed parentheses. And the other type is what we call the narrative type of citation. Sorry about the typing. I'll fix it. Okay. And that's where we do use the author's name in the actual sentence, just like that. And then what we do, since we've already mentioned the author's name, we no longer have to put the author's name in parentheses at the end. We can just put the page number there. And again, it's not P, it's not PP or PG or page or anything like that. It's just the number. This is MLA style, right? This is MLA style. For the other styles, some of the differences have to do with what goes inside the parentheses, depending on the style you're using. In this case, we're using MLA, so this is the way we do it. So for your essay, when you can find a source, you look the source over, you'll find some words that you want to quote from that source. By the way, sometimes you can do this for the example that you're giving in your paragraph. Sometimes you do this for when you're defining a term like liberty or something like that. You might read an article where they say liberty is freedom within the law. So you might want to quote that and put it in there. One of the things I did wrong, that this is supposed to be double spaced. I just noticed that. Sorry. Okay, we got to make sure we double space the entries in the works cited. See that? Okay. So double space everything. Say that as loudly as I can. Double space everything in MLA. Double space everything in APA. Double space, double space, double space everything. Try to remember that. Okay, so here are the two different ways that you can quote. You can quote and then put the author's name and page in parentheses, or you can put the author's name in the sentence. That's why we call it narrative, because you're telling the story and the author's name is there, and then just put the page number at the end. I'll leave that in the notes. Okay. Any other questions, concerns? Looking in the notes to see if anybody asked any other questions. Okay.
Yes, Professor. About essay, Congress, the three rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, can I object to them in my essay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. You can criticize the ideas any way you want to. You like them, you don't like them, you think they actually work, you think they don't work, you think, and as I said yesterday, I guess, you don't have to use historical examples. You don't have to talk about this as something in history. You can talk about it today. You don't have to be limited to the United States. You can talk about how this works in China or in India or any place. It's fine. Definitely, you are free to use your own experience to craft the essay. Just want you to the idea here is we have a document. We looked at the document. The document had some information. In this case, we're limiting it to those things, and we want you to react to that. The way you react is you're free to do in any way you like.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? If you haven't started writing your essay yet, we're going to end class. You have a little extra time. Sit down and write some notes for yourself about what you want your essay to include. You might even want to do a little research in the library or on the internet to try and find a source to include. And then later tonight or tomorrow, try to put that essay together as best you can. And if you can get it in by Thursday class time, that's great. If not, as I said, you can have a little extra time to put it together. Okay? Anything else? Anybody?
No questions.
Okay, so no class tomorrow. Our next class is Thursday when we will look at some of these essays. Okay? Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Professor.
Thank
Okay,
you. Have a good day.
2.